Tehran summoned diplomats representing France, Germany, Italy, and the UK to object to their declared support for anti-government demonstrations in Iran.
The EU's foreign policy chief Kaja Kallas is set to push for fresh sanctions on Iran after a crackdown that has reportedly claimed hundreds of lives.
The European Commission and the Chinese government have taken a crucial step towards resolving a long-running dispute over Beijing's electric vehicles. Iran has summoned diplomats representing France, Germany, Italy, and the UK in the capital Tehran on Monday to object to their declared support for anti-government protests. The diplomats were shown a video of the damage the rioters had allegedly caused and were told their government should, quote, withdraw official statements supporting the protesters. The wave of condemnation from Western governments came after a Norway-based Iran human rights group said close to 650 protesters were killed in clashes with security forces. The group, however, stressed that the figures are mere estimates, warning that the actual death toll is likely to be far higher. The Oslo-based Iran Human Rights NGO said that some estimates indicate that more than 6,000 people were killed in government crackdowns, but that independent verification was extremely difficult. The leaders of France, Germany, and the UK have all condemned what they labeled as state violence and urged the Iranian government to respect the people's right to protest. The EU said it was looking into imposing more sanctions on Tehran over their resorting to lethal force to quell the uprisings. The protests, now into their third week, started in Tehran as people grew more frustrated with continuous economic decline, heightened by the collapse of the currency, the rial. They quickly spread into other cities, demanding regime change, in what has become one of the most serious challenges to the country's theocracy since the 1979 Islamic Revolution.
The European Union's foreign policy chief is set to push for fresh sanctions on Iran. Kaja Kallas was reacting after a crackdown that has reportedly claimed hundreds of lives since protests began nearly 2 weeks ago. I am prepared to propose additional sanctions in response to the regime's brutal repression of protesters, said Kallas. According to human rights groups, more than 500 protesters have been killed and thousands arrested since the protests started. The EU has already adopted a wide-ranging set of sanctions against Iran, mainly travel bans and asset freezes, in response to serious human rights violations, nuclear proliferation activities, and military support for Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. These sanctions are targeting more than 230 Iranians, including members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, as well as more than 40 other entities.
The European Commission and the Chinese government have reached an agreement to resolve a long-running dispute over Beijing's electric vehicles. Brussels slapped the Chinese-made vehicles with tariffs as a way to counter heavy subsidies placed on European products in China. Since the EU introduced its duties in October 2024, the two sides have been negotiating a scheme under which Chinese manufacturers would raise the price of their vehicles to ensure fairer competition with European automakers. After over a year of negotiations, the Commission published on Monday a guidance document that allows Chinese companies to submit new offers for so-called price undertakings. The submissions will be subject to thorough internal analysis in Brussels before further steps can be taken. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce, which previously labeled EU tariffs as disproportionate and unjustified, hailed the move as an important breakthrough. In a statement, the ministry praised the two sides' ability to negotiate and, quote, properly resolve differences through consultation.
A former Polish justice minister said on Monday that he has been granted asylum in Hungary. Zbigniew Ziobro faces prosecution in his homeland over alleged abuse of power. Zbigniew Ziobro was a key figure in the government led by the nationalist conservative Law and Justice Party that was in power between 2015 and 2023. Zbigniew Ziobro is considered the architect of a series of contentious judicial reforms that sparked a standoff between Poland and the European Union. They allege, among other things, that Ziobro misused a fund for victims of violence, including for the purchase of Israeli Pegasus surveillance software. He faces up to 25 years in prison. In October, prosecutors requested the lifting of Ziobrzo's parliamentary immunity to press charges against him.
It can be considered as a historic blow to international drug trafficking networks, the police said. Spanish police announced it intercepted a merchant ship in the Atlantic Ocean carrying almost 10 tons of cocaine hidden in salt in its largest ever maritime bust. Officers boarded the Cameroon-flagged merchant vessel last week after it departed Brazil, the police said. 13 crew members were arrested and a firearm used to protect the stash was seized. The vessel ran out of fuel after the raid and remained at sea for almost 12 hours, prompting Spain's Maritime Rescue Service to tow it to the Canary Islands. The operation, codenamed White Tides, involved agencies from the US, the UK, Brazil, Spain, France and Portugal. The cocaine seized has a potential street value of around 400 million euros, according to the European Drug Report. Maria Corina Machado met with Pope Leo XIV in Rome. Before her meeting with Donald Trump, scheduled for Tuesday at the White House, the Venezuelan opposition leader and Nobel Peace Prize winner reportedly asked the pontiff to intercede for Venezuelans who remain kidnapped and disappeared, and for the advancement of the transition to democracy in Venezuela. Leo XIV has called for the will of the Venezuelan people to be respected and for peaceful solutions to be sought that are far removed from, quote, partisan interests.
The Venezuelan government announced on Monday the release of another 116 political prisoners, bringing the total number of released captives to 133. The process began last week on orders of acting President Delcy Rodriguez, who took charge after the U.S.'s stunning military operation, which captured President Nicolas Maduro. The Ministry of Penitentiary Services reported the releases in an official statement. However, non-governmental organizations say only 24 prisoners have been confirmed released so far. 2 Italian nationals were also released within the past week, prompting Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni to announce that Rome will be seeking to upgrade ties with Caracas.
Questo risultato è il frutto del lavoro discreto, ma efficace, portato avanti in questi mesi non solo dal governo, ma dalla rete diplomatica, dall'intelligence. Io voglio ringraziare tutti i servitori dello Stato che a vario livello hanno dato il loro contributo per raggiungere questo obiettivo. Continueremo a lavorare senza sosta affinché la costruttiva collaborazione instaurata con le autorità di Caracas possa produrre ulteriori sviluppi positivi.
It's not yet clear how many captives will be released from Venezuelan prisons in total, but officials say they aim to free, quote, a significant number in the coming weeks.
The top court of the United Nations opened a long-awaited case into accusations that Myanmar committed genocide against the Rohingya ethnic minority. The Gambia first filed the case at the International Court of Justice in 2019, arguing that Myanmar's military violated the Genocide Convention when it carried out a military operation in the Rakhine State in 2017. The campaign was launched in response to an attack by a Rohingya insurgent group. Security forces were accused of mass rapes, killings, and torching thousands of homes as more than 700,000 Rohingya fled into neighboring Bangladesh.
This is a very important case for the Rohingya people. We're waiting for the justice for many years. In 2017, Burmese military killed thousands of Rohingya people, raped thousands of Rohingya women. About 1 million people fled from 2017 because of genocidal acts by the Burmese military.
Now, some 1.2 million members of the persecuted minority are languishing in chaotic, overcrowded camps, where armed groups recruit children and girls as young as 12 are forced into prostitution. Myanmar, which has since been taken over by the military, has denied the allegations, but the opposition National Unity Government, established after the 2021 coup, has welcomed the jurisdiction of the ICJ in a statement, withdrawing previously submitted objections on the case.